Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Today on the show, I have my friend Paula Rollo, and she is the blogger behind Beauty Through Imperfection. She's not only a blogger, she's also a writer and a social media expert. So welcome to the show, Paula.
Thank you for having me.
You are an old timer, if I can call you that.
Sure, that's true.
Okay, can you tell us briefly about, tell me how you started, how you got interested in blogging, and now you say, I was just reading something about you, and it says you have 4 blogs.
Yep. So I started when I was 15.
Wow.
A friend of mine pretty much my friend had a blog, and so it seemed like the cool thing to do. So I started one. I was moving away from the state that I had kind of grown up in, so I kind of used it as like a little awkward teenager way to keep in touch with my friends. And thankfully, that blog is no longer alive on the internet. I have never been more thankful for a website going down. But it's just, I've never really stopped for an extended period of time since I was 15. I love writing and just connecting with people that way. And so I've been doing it a long time now and loving it almost the whole time.
And what was the inspiration behind Beauty Through Imperfection?
So I had taken a break, I guess, while I was pregnant and with my first baby. And so then Beauty Through Imperfection started when he was about 2 or 3 months old. And I just saw a lot of perfection on social media. Like, I think back then there wasn't kind of this, it's a common thing now. If you say Beauty Through Imperfection, people know what you're about and that you're wanting to embrace kind of those flaws in motherhood and not shame other people and things like that. But it was a time on the internet where I wasn't seeing that a lot. And so I just wanted to speak into that space because I was just really worried I was screwing it all up and realized everybody else was too. So we kind of created this little space together of it's okay to not be perfect today, and there's beauty in that day too.
Wow, I love that message because yes, as a new mother, oh my God, that is like a crazy, crazy time. My daughter didn't sleep as a baby, and I would read all the sleep books, and I would feel so inadequate that I was somehow doing it wrong. And then everybody had their advice. Have you tried music? I just pat my baby on the back and she just goes to sleep, and I would just feel so inadequate. So I wish I had found your blog back then.
I wish I had my blog back then. That's why I started it.
That's great. And so explain then how your blog has evolved how long has Beauty Through Imperfection been around?
7 years almost.
And how have you seen it evolve as you've evolved?
So it has it interesting because I think I started out blogging from this space of me too. I also feel really insecure. I also am really afraid that I'm screwing up, and not a lot of help in that, but just maybe a comforting voice that like you're not the only one feeling this way.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of value in that. But as I've kind of grown in my motherhood and not been quite as worried about every decision all the time.
Right.
I've been able to kind of speak from a different space of, your baby will sleep. Like somebody was actually messaging me yesterday, like, will I ever sleep again? Is that a thing? Because it's been 3 days.
Right.
And now I'm able to kind of speak from a space where I did sleep last night and I know that it's going to get better. But I also know it feels really hopeless right now, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to feel that helplessness. And so I kind of try to keep both voices in there now, where I'm in this with you, but also I do have some advice to share or some words of encouragement of just, this worked for me and it might not work for you, but it worked for me. You could try it.
Right. And that I've traveled down this path. I'm a little further down the path so I can look back and have a little more perspective.
Exactly. Because my youngest is 5, but I still talk about baby and toddler years a lot just because I remember how hard those times were and how much you need a friend. And it's really hard to reach out for friends in that time. So I always want to keep that as part of what I'm doing.
I love that. Okay. And the one thing that when I think of you, the word that comes to mind is brave.
You're so sweet.
I mean it, because again, as we live in this very curated world of perfection on the internet, you have been willing to share about your own personal struggles and really put yourself out there. And I feel like I read one of your pieces before I met you, and I felt this real connection to you. I don't know, and then like when I saw you in real life, I'm like, wow, I feel so close to you. Can you share about that part of your blogging and what that means?
Sure. So I've always used blogging as kind of like a way to heal. I'm like a child abuse survivor or whatever. I don't know if there's a special term for that, but there's a lot of abuse in my history and just a lot of really just crazy messed up stuff. And so I've written a lot of things and just kept them saved on my computer just as a way to process out my feelings and to kind of put to paper words that I didn't feel comfortable speaking out. And so that just kind of naturally progressed into my blog. And I kind of realized that, I'm being quiet and no one knows I struggle with depression. No one knows that I've had anxiety for years. So I wonder how many other people have depression, have anxiety, and they're just not talking about it. And they're just not talking about how they're healing from abuse or different things that have happened in their lives. And so I just started putting it on the internet. And it took a long time. Like that makes it sound very simple. Like just, I suddenly knew how to put this into words and put it online. But it's not the case. Like I think my first post that I wrote about child abuse and how that's shaped my motherhood was 3 years in the making. Like I literally drafted it out and edited it for 3 years, which is not something I normally do. I don't even edit most of my blog posts at all. I just kind of throw them on the internet and watch what happens. But that one took a long time. And I really had to get to a place where I was okay with whatever backlash came from it.
Right.
And there was some. And that's hard, but I also like writing about these things because it gives people, even people who haven't experienced abuse or who don't experience depression and anxiety, the chance to kind of hear what their friends are going through. And hopefully, even if they respond poorly to me, I want them to have that space, to have that negative reaction so that hopefully they respond better to their friends in the future and can kind of get rid of that angst they have towards depressed people or maybe some stereotypes that are out there.
Now, first of all, how has the reaction been? And given that, this is where I use the word brave, because I don't think I could handle backlash about something so personal. Have people been kind and civil? And how have you responded to that?
There's been both. So, and that's why when people ask me about writing really personal things, I always caution them to make sure you're ready. One of my most personal pieces, I've had people comment and be like, I don't know about your alleged abuse. This doesn't seem very bad to me. We need more proof. And I'm like, really? It's not even about, I didn't go into details because that's not necessary in the blog post. Are you just wanting to get entertainment from my abuse? That's not really, it's just strange.
It's so dark. Okay.
It is, but I just don't understand why I need to prove myself in a blog post. It's not like I'm suing someone. We're not in court. We don't need proof. So I'm not sure what area of pain that person was coming from, but I've definitely gotten some backlash, mainly from strangers and mainly unwarranted. I think it's really important to me that I don't hurt anyone with my stories. So I even sent, one of my posts is about my biological dad, who was a great dad, but he messed up a bunch and he's no longer living. So I couldn't send it to him to get his approval to post, but I felt like I had something important that other people could learn from. And so I sent it to his sister, to my aunt, and I said, I'm wanting to publish this. Will you read it and tell me what you think, and tell me if you think that this is, slandering his good name, anything like that, because I don't want to harm anyone. And if I'm harming some people to help other people, I'm just not okay with that. Mm-hmm. So I'm very cautious in the way that I write, and I think that has protected me from some backlash, just because I'm careful with the way that I do it. But there's still, I get all sorts of weird comments about my life.
What about, though, the positive comments? Like,
those are just amazing. People will stop me. I remember the first post I wrote about abuse, and the point of it was to talk to your kids about it and to really empower your kids to know what kind of touching is and is not okay, how people are allowed to talk to them, and those types of things. Because that stuff wasn't taught to me as a kid, and I think it's really important to empower your kids in that way, not just shield them, but to
right.
give them the ability to shield themselves and reach out for help when needed.
Yep.
So I wrote this post, and my blog is predominantly for women, and I don't share it typically on my personal profile, just because I write a lot and that would be obnoxious. But I walk into church that Sunday, and this random guy approaches me. Like, I know him, but I don't think he reads my blog regularly. And he comes up to me and he's like, we had a conversation with our kids last night about abuse because of your blog.
Wow.
And this has changed us, and I really, really appreciate it. And so things like that, and I've gotten emails like that, and I see in my Amazon listing all these books that are purchased pretty much every single day about empowering your kids and teaching them about yes and no touching and things like that. And that's really just my favorite thing, because I know that kids are being impacted and hopefully changed through it. And protected from whatever might come their way. So it's empowering, I think, both to parents and to kids to add in those extra layers of safety. And that's just priceless.
Wow. But that's like, I feel like you are this force for good out in the world. Like, I'm happy there are people like you writing about this stuff.
I hope it's doing good. Hopefully more than, I think there are a lot of silent people, both happy and sad, about what I write. And so that's always encouraging too, that even the people who aren't maybe able to put it into words to me are talking to their kids. Like I said, the Amazon purchases, I don't know what they're thinking or what they've said, but I know that they're having conversations with their kids. And that's what is really important to me.
That's amazing. So this is an interesting thing about, so on one hand, you have this very personal blog and you're sharing, tips and trying to help people. Then you also, though, are this social media expert. Can you explain how that came about and where you, because I think when I first learned about you, I thought of you as a teacher in social media and blogging, that kind of thing. And then I learned about your blog. And so explain where that came about and what that even means.
I think it can mean a lot of different things to different people. For me, when I started blogging, and even when I started trying to blog professionally, which was only like 4 or 5 years ago, I'm really bad with timelines, but it was a number of years ago, and there weren't social media teachers back then. There weren't blogging coaches. That was not a thing. There were, like I had heard rumors that there were some bloggers making money, and that's why I decided to try it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like everyone was posting income reports and things like that. And so I spent a lot of time failing and figuring things out on my own, which I'm thankful for, but also we really needed money in that season of life. So it would have been nice to be able to read an ebook or just get some advice from someone on how to do something and maybe kind of take a shortcut to not having to fail as many times so that I could have made money for our family a little bit faster. But I'm thankful for that time, but that's what kind of makes me want to be a social media teacher, or a blogging teacher or whatever, kind of term to put on it, is I just want to see people succeed, and I want to see people reach their goals, because I think there's a lot of talk in this space about making, 97 figures a month or whatever. And
yes,
it's just, there's a lot of that, and I support that, and I'm happy with people doing that, but that's just not what I'm about. I would rather help somebody who has a meaningful message that they want to share, or somebody who just wants to be able to keep the lights on for their kids, or those types of things. So if you were to talk to somebody who is just starting a blog, just starting out, and you were to say, here are your top 3 ways to make money or to be thinking about monetizing your blog, what would you recommend? I would recommend, number 1, that they know who they're talking to and how they can help those people.
And what do you mean by that?
who are you blogging to and why? Because there's just putting an article out into the whole world of the internet. Kind of anybody can do that, but how are you making a meaningful connection with someone? Both because that's how we do things that really matter, and also that's how it makes sales as well, because people feel connected to you, people feel like they can trust you, people know that you understand the struggle that they're having, and so when you say this can help you with that struggle or that product will, they're willing to buy into that. And so it's really important on a personal level just to know that you're helping someone, but also it is a huge part of that money-making journey as well, just because it builds trust with your readers. So figuring out who you want to talk to and how you can help them is like absolutely number one.
A lot of people call that your avatar.
Yes.
Which is, and I like the idea of an avatar because it typically is one person.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that one perfect visitor to your site, that person who gets you and wants this specific content, and to really identify, is it a mom? Is it, where does she live? What does she do? What are her struggles? What are her issues? And usually that avatar tends to be someone similar to us.
Yes.
So it's a lot easier, and it is good if your avatar is similar to you because you know your own pain points.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay, so the first thing then is to really be specific about who you're speaking to and why.
Yes, because I think page views and income both stem from there. Those are all three of those things kind of are married together. And then I guess ads would be my next step, is to find some sort of ad network. Most people start with Google AdSense. And then when you have more page views, you can move along up, because that's just an easy way to keep doing what you're doing, but monetize it.
Right.
And you don't have to stress out about chasing a brand or anything like that at first. Like, I really keep it as stress-free as possible for as long as you can.
Totally. And that's passive income. So you're just like making money as you sleep.
Exactly. That's right.
Okay. And then what would be your third recommendation?
My third, for just an income stream?
An income stream. Like just in terms of low-hanging fruit.
Right. Then I guess that would be sponsored posts. I would sign up for 3 or 4 networks and try to get kind of your feet wet working with brands through sponsored content. I feel like some of those networks, Izea was the first one I worked with, but they weren't called Izea back then. But I feel like I learned how to work with brands through that network, because they would lay out how they wanted a post to look and how they wanted me to talk about the brand and how to take the photos. And so there's a lot of training in that I've kind of implemented into now as I pitch a brand myself, or as I'm making my own deals, or even as I'm using affiliate marketing. It's stemming from this education that I got through sponsored post networks from years ago.
And what networks do you typically recommend?
Izea is always my fave. I love them.
Great.
Because they're kind humans. I always just put that in there. Like the places I like and I put emphasis on, I'm like, they're kind, and that's why I like them. Like, they're a great business, but they're kind.
No, but it is all about relationships. It is.
It is. They were like my ad network and Izea and another ad network that I'm with all emailed me when Harvey hit and checked on me. And like personal people, like personal messages from campaign managers, they were messaging me, are you okay? How's your family? Can we help you? Like,
wow.
That's amazing that they know where I live, they know what's happening, and they care. So that's the type of thing I care about. And also, they help me pay the bills. So that's good too.
And, well, first of all, what ad networks do you use?
I use AdThrive for my travel blog and Beauty Through Imperfection.
Okay.
And I'm on Mediavine for my food blog.
Got it. Okay. And we use AdThrive for Catch My Party.
Do you? I love both. Like, I really don't have complaints about either. My food blog wasn't big enough for AdThrive, which is why it's with Mediavine. But I'm really enjoying my experience there as well. So I like having kind of my hands in both to just feel them both out.
I get it. And then so what other sponsored content companies do you work with, or do you recommend?
Clever is another one of my favorites. I work with them quite a bit. What's it called? I think Blog to Business or something like that. I get emails from them, but I should know what they're called. Clever and Sway. Those are
Okay.
probably the ones I work with more than anyone else.
Now, if you have if you're small, like you're just starting out, would these companies want to work with you? Like, is there usually a threshold? Do you know?
I feel like some of them do have a threshold before they'll even accept you. And I feel like they're always changing. So I don't remember the numbers now. But
Okay.
for me, like the way I did my blog was I kind of waited till I was at 30 to 50,000 page views before I started pursuing things like this. And the reason for that is you can get the odd sponsored post or, the odd brand that might want to work with you when your blog is smaller, but you're going to spend so much time and effort finding that brand that you could have been pouring into churning out awesome content and creating, great things for your readers that would push you over that hump where it's much easier to get sponsored content and the brands are kind of seeking you out a little bit more.
Yep.
So I would go ahead and sign up for them, but maybe don't pour hours and hours and hours a week into that until you're about 30 to 50,000 page views a month, because it'll just be a lot easier when you hit that point.
Yes, I would agree with that. And again, I think as bloggers, we have two scarce resources. One is money and one is time.
Yes.
And you always have to be thinking in terms of both of those. So
Absolutely.
If you're going to make $50 from doing a sponsored post, is that worth your time? It might be worth it if you're making $200.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's probably the same amount of work.
Right.
So that's always something to keep in mind. So as you started to grow your blog, and now you mentioned reaching out to brands.
Yes.
How does that work?
It can work a lot of different ways. I use Twitter a lot to just kind of talk to brands and kind of maybe get on their radar if they're active on Twitter. It's one of the only things Twitter's good for in my opinion.
By the way, I totally agree. I have had, because brands are listening.
Yeah.
And they're listening predominantly on Twitter. Like it's the most direct way. And these are their social media people who are listening. Right. So it kind of directs you to the right person.
Mm-hmm. So I'll do free tweets for brands. I'll, take a photo of us at some place that I want to work with. I'll, respond to them. I'll retweet them. All things that I do charge money for tweets and things of that nature. But if I'm wanting to create like a big ambassadorship relationship with a brand, then I'll do that stuff for free on Twitter to kind of try to get their attention. I wouldn't do like a huge blog post or anything for free, but a 2-second tweet, sure.
Right. No, that makes sense.
And then if I am successful on Twitter, then I'll usually direct message them and ask, say, I love y'all's brand. It's been fun chatting with you. Who's the right person to email with a marketing request or with a blogging partnership idea? And if you can get the correct email, like that is 90% of the work that you need to do. Finding those emails is really, really hard sometimes. And so that's kind of how I try to find the right email.
Right.
If that doesn't work or I don't have enough time to do that, then I will just go to a website of somebody I want to work with and I will search and search and search until I find that marketing person. And then I'll pitch them and I'll tell them what I want to do and I'll tell them, short and concise, but who my audience is. That's, again, you're going to go back to that avatar you created. I feel like brands care a lot less about who I am than they care about who I'm talking to.
Yes.
And what I'm bringing to the table as far as that goes. And so if I can tell them I talk to 100,000 moms with, kids in this age range and they're all interested in, whatever their product is, or they have this problem and this is how I'm going to tell them that your product solves that problem for them. That's a lot better of a pitch than just, I enjoy your product and I'm in your target audience. Like, no, absolutely. I have 100,000 people that want to buy your product. They just don't realize it yet. That's a much, much better sell.
Absolutely. And I like that you outline for the brand what you can provide to them so they don't have to do the work. So it's not a huge back and forth like, hey, I'd love to work with you. And then they email you back and say, oh, what are you? And then you email them back. And then instead to say upfront, this is what I can offer you. And
Yes.
do you even put like, I'd like to do a sponsored post with you and this number of shares and I charge this much money, or do you keep it more open-ended?
Unless it's like a trip or something specific that I need, I try to keep it open-ended. I'll say I would love to do, a sponsored post. My most popular package comes with 4 social shares, but I'm really open to what you guys are looking for right now. I'd love to have a conversation with you about what type of marketing you're looking for, because sometimes they'll come back and they'll be like, "You have fun ideas, but we're launching a new product in 2 months. Would you be willing to talk about that instead? Or could we get you doing this social media campaign with us?" And so if I found that if I don't lock myself into this is the only thing I want to do, but kind of leave it
Right.
open as a conversation, then they can come in with kind of a counter offer that usually ends up working better for everyone.
And I've found that if I can get them on the phone, that
Yeah.
is usually really good at closing the deal.
Yes. As terrifying as it is, I hate talking on the phone, but
But you'll do it.
I will do it
Do
because
it to
you're
put
right. It
money
does
on the-
help.
Yeah, it does help. And again, it does personalize it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
so as a social media marketing expert, how are you driving traffic to your blogs? Like where would the low-hanging fruit be?
So I do try to keep a good balance. For a long time, I feel like when I first started out, again, this was years ago. So Pinterest was super easy back then. Like you just pin something and watch your real time analytics go up, and it was glorious. And that's not super duper the case anymore, but I still have strived to keep things a bit more even. Instead of getting 90% of my traffic from Pinterest, when they changed their algorithm, I think we all realized that that was a really bad idea
Right.
to have 90% of our traffic coming from anywhere.
Yep.
And so now it's kind of split more into thirds, or maybe I guess quarters. So Facebook, Pinterest, and search are my highest. And then there's just this awkward other quarter of random other stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so I try to make sure I'm maintaining all 3 of those things. And to be honest, like Facebook is a weak point for me. I don't enjoy putting in all the work that it takes to have a really successful viral Facebook page. Like I know how to do it, but I don't like it. So I don't focus there as much as far as growing my own page. And what I do there when I realized I was really weak in that area was I partnered with other bloggers who have a great solid Facebook strategy and they have this huge page, and I offer them my services for free in exchange for shares.
Ooh, okay.
And so that rounds out kind of my Facebook was really weak, my Pinterest was really strong. And so instead of waiting, the year or even a few months that it would take for me to grow my Facebook page, I kept doing the things that I love doing, which is writing and connecting with my fans in other ways. And I work for other bloggers and take advantage of their Facebook pages. I mean, I say take advantage, that sounds so mean, but like,
right.
I use their followers to get traffic to my site while giving them, something in exchange. For most of them, I schedule their Facebook pages because, like I said, I know the strategy. I just don't want to spend 10 hours a day doing it. And honestly, those bloggers don't either. So they're happy for me to come in and take 1 or 2 of those hours a week in exchange for some shares. And that kind of rounds out my weak points for me.
And that will drive significant traffic to your site.
Yes.
Yeah, the power of Facebook, if you can corral it, if you can get it to work for you, it's amazing. But for those like us, Facebook is, I've mentioned this previously, Facebook drives traffic to our site, but not like these super Facebook people.
Right, exactly. And that I just kind of knew I'm never going to be a super Facebook person myself, because I don't want to pay someone to do that. I know some of the strategies just aren't really in line with what I want for my page.
Yep.
And so I don't do it and I don't compromise on that. But
you found a workaround. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm able to use someone else's to get the traffic and then keep my Facebook page how I want it to be. And everybody wins. Like
I agree.
Everybody's getting what they want out of the deal. So
I love that.
Well.
What about video? Are you making video? Is video a part of your business? And how do you feel about video?
I mean, I agree with everyone that video is the future and it's a really big deal. But I'm a writer and I love writing. And I guess I'm to a point with my blog, and this was a long time coming. Like, for a long time, my identity and who I was tied up in the success and failure of my blog and in getting more page views and growing. And a couple years ago, I just kind of realized, like, why am I wanting to be bigger and bigger and bigger? Like, this is kind of ridiculous. I'm at a good size and I'm happy at the size that I am. And like, I would love, like I said, to be making 97 figures a month. Sure, that would be great. But what am I sacrificing to get that? I'm sacrificing my happiness. I'm sacrificing time with my family. I'm a person that does have really high anxiety, and I've had depression for like 12 years. And so there are times when life hits me like a truck and I can't work. And that's just not realistic for a site that has, 5 million page views a month, or, whatever. I'm just throwing out massive numbers because we all just want bigger. It doesn't matter how big you get, you want to be bigger. And so I stopped all of that. And this is related to video, I promise.
No, please.
But so I kind of stopped trying to chase those things, and I'm more focused on maintaining what I had and maintaining, like, my blog is our family's only income now. So I can't just put it to the side. I can't just take a week off. Like, I can't do any of those things. But I've maintained now our family budget and a little bit over that every month for about 2 years, and that's all I want to do. I'm not striving super hard to make, to double my income or things like that. Like, it's really hard in this industry because we can double our income. And what other industry can you do that in? Like, you can't work harder at another job and double your income. That's not possible.
Right.
But I can. And so it felt really wrong to not do that, to not jump on the next big train that's going to make your things go viral, that's going to grow your page and all of that. And I fought with that for a while and finally realized, like, no, I'm not going to do it. And so video is kind of tied to that for me because it's something I hate doing. When it comes to the editing process, I hate it.
Right.
And I don't want to hire out that much of what I'm doing. I like keeping things close to home, and it was just too much at this point in my life. That's not to say I'll never do video, but at this point, I didn't want to do it. I didn't enjoy doing it. The thought of it stressed me out, and it didn't fit in with I'm just going to maintain what I'm doing and continue loving what I'm doing and continue paying the bills, and then having just a really low-key life that I actually enjoy and I'm not stressed out about. And so
I think
I'm not doing it.
I think as mothers too, I mean, especially as you were talking about how, like, you go through these different stages. And my daughter now is 10. And it's amazing because I never thought this would happen. Like, I never thought that she could be as independent as she is, or she could even help me with things. Like, she says she's going to be editing my podcasts. That hasn't happened yet, but she knows how to use GarageBand. And so it's like you go through these windows with your family as your family grows, where eventually you might be able to take on more or take on less, depending. But there's something to recognizing that the way it is today, it will not be this way in a year. And it will definitely not be this way in 5 years. And to be able to kind of roll with that. For example, if you've been at this a long time like you have and we have, you see a lot of changes in the world of social media and the internet and stuff. And you've also seen a lot of changes over the last, let's say, 5 years in your family.
Yes.
So you kind of, like, the better you are at uncertainty, I think the more successful you will be.
Yes, I agree completely.
So if you were to give one piece of advice to bloggers starting out today that you wish you had known, what do you think it would be?
Well, I kind of hit it a little bit a second ago, and this is very personal to me, but just, you're not your business.
Ooh.
And so succeed or fail, that doesn't define you. And I did not know that when I started. And this is a very personal business. You're putting your life on the internet. Even if you're a food blogger, you're putting your family's recipes on the internet for people to hate or for people to love. And when everybody's loving you, that can feel really good. But I think that's just as dangerous as when everybody's hating on you. And so I've really learned to hold what people say loosely. And that's the good things they say about me are held just as loosely as the bad things, because what matters is what people in my real life think about me. What matters is that I'm being a kind person to the people around me, and that I'm doing things that I believe in. And page views don't always reflect that. And page views don't always reflect your heart. I think one of the most popular, as far as people emailing me and saying, this post changed my life, this is the greatest thing I've ever written, that post, I think, got 250 views on it, which is
Wow.
like nothing for my blog. And I still remember the things that people said about it, and it was beautiful and it was wonderful. But getting that next million, billion page views is not what it's about. And it's not where your worth is found. And so being able to hold loosely to those things has helped with my anxiety in my blogging. And I know that not everybody has anxiety about blogging and different things like that, but that's just what I wish the message that I had when I was starting out is that,
Right.
you're a lot more than this, succeed or fail.
I love that. And I would say you show me a blogger and I will show you somebody who has blogging anxiety.
Probably true.
It's like they come hand in hand. Again, I think you're right. Because of there is a personal piece to this. You are putting a part of yourself out on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you have to be intentional about how much of yourself you're putting out there.
Yeah.
And understand what the ramifications are for that. But you are exposing yourself.
Yeah. And it's hard and it's wonderful and it's awful all at once.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what about your business right now are you most excited about?
Well, I'm not doing it yet, but I have plans for a new series on Beauty Through Imperfection. That blog I've been in just a funky spot with for a while because I still write the things that I care about for new moms and stuff, but I am in a new season of life, and I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate that new season and what I care about personally, like for me, what I care about into my blog without losing its voice. And so I'm starting this new series. It was supposed to launch this fall, and then Hurricane Harvey hit, and that just kind of threw our whole city into madness.
Yes.
So I'm hoping for next spring.
And wait, was your house okay?
Yes, our house was fine, but like within walking distance, there was 5 feet of water from us. So it's just, our grocery stores are still gone. Like it's just crazy here. But so I'm been thinking about this project for a while, and so it's going to be called Beautiful Perspectives, and I'm going to have people hopefully come in and just write about their lives and write about their struggles and their challenges, and hopefully cover voices that I can't cover as just a pretty average person. So I want to bring in people who are not like me. And people who I have questions about. And this may actually incorporate some video interviews, but they're going to be pretty low key and unedited. But my goal is just to break down walls between people, and maybe walls you didn't even know existed, and just make it more comfortable to approach people who look different than you and act different than you and have drastically different lives. And I'm really excited about it because that's what I care about in my real life. And I'm finding a way, hopefully, to incorporate that into my blog. And I don't think it's going to be a huge income generator or anything like that. But that goes back to like being able to let go of those things. And I'm maintaining that income. And now I can do something that, might reach a couple hundred people, but it's reaching them with something that I care about and I'm passionate about.
And I would say that when we go towards stuff like that, you don't know where it's going to lead.
So true.
It could be a book. It could be a course. It could be, who knows? But if you can trust that voice inside to say, I'm not sure how I'm going to monetize this, but at least I'm going to try it out.
Yes.
I think that's very, it feeds your soul and it makes the job easier. Right.
Because the things that I write about to pay the bills are not things I love.
Right.
But they're important and they're helping people, and that's fine. But I'm able to add in kind of, the soul feeding thing that I love. And that's what I'm excited about. I'm not really excited about my next paycheck. I'm excited about how this will, maybe just impact a couple of people. Like I said, that most popular, as far as really helping people post, reached 250 people, but I think it reached them with something that I want that to be, my legacy, or the thing that I'm known for, I'm remembered for. So.
Oh, I love that. Is there an online tool that you use for your business that you can't live without?
Yes. And I will say it's expensive, and I don't do expensive, but SEMrush is something new that I've gotten in the past year, and I'm kind of obsessed. Uh, it's a SEO tool, and
Okay.
it has just so much data. I feel like I've been using it since like May, and I still have barely scratched the surface with the data it's giving me, but it tells you every backlink to your site ever. It tells you what page you're ranking on in Google for any search term, and it's just nutty, the amount of information. And it makes it really nice because I can kind of scroll through and look for, oh, I'm on page 2 of Google with this random search term. I'm going to create more content around this term and push myself to page 1.
Yes.
And so that's been a game changer as far as, like I said, I had the threefold, like Facebook, Pinterest, and search. Search used to be not even on my radar. And in the past few months, it's now number 3, and like substantially number 3, not like at a huge margin of error. It's matching Facebook now, as far as what I'm getting in traffic, which is a first for me. And I genuinely owe that to SEMrush, which is obnoxiously expensive but worth every penny. So,
wow. Okay, we'll be linking to it in the show notes. It's been recommended to me so many times, but because you just said that, I am going to sign up.
Well, I took a class at a conference at TBEX this summer, and it was the most comprehensive and actually helpful thing on SEO that I've ever attended in my life. I literally walked up to the woman and said, "Will you coach me?" And she said, "I don't do coaching." And I was like, let me rephrase, how much to buy an hour of your time? I don't spend money. I'm very thrifty, and this was worth it.
Wow.
Because I really trusted her recommendation because she knew what she was talking about in SEO, and it's been really helpful.
Well, that's terrific. I love it. I'm literally going to get off this call and go sign up because it's been recommended to me over and over again.
I had never even heard of it, and now I see it popping up everywhere, and I'm like, you guys have been holding out on me.
Yes, and I do believe that when you hear a recommendation from a variety of people, you have to check it out.
It's true. It's true.
Okay, do you have any parting piece of advice for, let's say, new bloggers? And then also, how can people connect with you?
For new bloggers, I would say keep it fun, and keep it realistic. I think there's a lot of information out there about specific paths to success or specific formulas, and I'm not saying those are not accurate, but make sure when you're adopting a formula that it fits with your lifestyle and it fits with your personal goals, and it's going to be something you enjoy. So I think bloggers come and go really, really quickly. And I think the pain point that makes people quit is that they put too much on their plate too fast, in order to try to follow, what some very successful blogger said is the formula.
Yes.
And it's not that formula is wrong even. It's just, is it right for you right now in this moment? Or do you need to focus on something else? And move into this space at a slower rate, because the space is always going to be here. There's like this urgency in the blogging community, but we're here to stay. This is an awesome industry. We're in marketing, and marketing is forever. So you have time to ease in and find your voice and find how you want this space to work for you. So take your time.
I love that. I love that. Now, let's go through all of your sites and how people can reach out to you and connect with you.
That might take a while. Beauty Through Imperfection is my main blog. That's the one I always joke that pays the bills.
Okay.
And then I have some others that I'm building slowly because I can't sit still. And so my food site is Dinner with the Rollos. My travel site is Traveling Family Blog. And then I have a Facebook community that is free. Just join us if you want to. And that's quick blogging tips. And that is, I try to keep those tips under 5 minutes, something you can implement today. So it's super easy. teeny tiny improvements to your blog. And then you can always reach me on email. It's just my name, Paula Rollo @gmail. And most of my social media handles are just my name as well, Paula Rollo.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Well, and are the tips that you're giving in your Facebook group, are those you jumping on live? Are they written tips? What is that?
They're mainly written tips. Again, I'm a writer.
Okay, got it.
But I have been jumping on lives a little bit more. I'm trying to do that a little bit more because at least that doesn't have to be edited, so I can just talk. So I've been doing that a little bit more, especially now that school's in session, thank goodness. I'm trying to do some more live video in that group too.
Well, Paula, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. This was a really fun chat.
If you're trying to grow your social media followers on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Pinterest, plus trying to grow your email list, definitely check out MiloTree. It is the smart pop-up you add to your blog or your site, and it asks your visitors to follow you on social media or subscribe to your list. Just a couple things. It's super easy to add to your site. We offer a WordPress plugin or a simple line of code. It's Google friendly on mobile, so you don't have to worry about showing pop-ups on mobile. It's lightning fast. It won't slow your site down, and you can grow multiple platforms at once. So check it out, MiloTree.com. We also offer your first 30 days free.